What's going on, guys? Ray Yurgs back here with another episode of the Third and Long Pick Six Show, recapping Week 5. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys did tune in to a winning week to get back on track. 4-2 we went this week on our winning picks. And that puts us at 14-15-1 overall on the season, trying to get back over that hump after the 2 bad weeks we had. But let's just keep on rolling, baby. Thanks again for tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you go subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Real Ray Yurgs and follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to hit that like button, that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter. Let's get right into it, all right? So, as I said, the first pick that we had was the Giants and the Packers, and boy, man, did the Packers struggle in that game. They struggled in the early game. We took the under. I really thought that the Packers were going to end up winning on that game too, but they just continued to struggle in different ways. But is it more so as the Giants actually a little bit more respectable than what we give them credit to be? 4-1 on the season are the Giants, and I gotta tell you, it is an odd team in my opinion. I mean, Daniel Jones is not really a great quarterback, and he has shown that. But they seem to they seem to be well coached. They're playing very hard. The defense, in my opinion, is what's been keeping them afloat, and a lot of times, especially from the poor play on the offensive side. But kudos to the Giants at being at 4-1. It's crazy to think that, where they are from where they were last year at this point of the season. So, kudos to them. Catching almost 6 points, though, in this week's game against Baltimore. So, something to keep an eye on there. Seeing if that's going to be a real test for these football Giants here. But be interesting to see what they do going forward. Seattle, New Orleans, we knew that was going to end up being a shootout, so we take the win there. Real touch base on that quick. Taysom Hill just lifting the Saints to victory. Huge win for the Saints, in my opinion. Trying to keep pace until maybe Jameis Winston comes back. We'll see what happens going forward with them, but big win for them. Seattle is surprisingly very good offensively. They found ways to win with Geno Smith. Rashad Penny is going to be out for the season, so that's a big hit for them. But they do look great offensively, but boy, their defense is not the Legion of Boom anymore, that's for sure. They continue to struggle on the defensive side, but going forward, looking like the overs are something to keep an eye on, depending on what the number is with them moving forward. So I like to see them scoring more points as they have been usual. Cowboys. Listen, if you watched my video, I took the Cowboys at plus 5.5 last week, and it was painful for me to take the Cowboys. I really never bet on the Cowboys. I don't like betting on the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys, and you've known that. If you've watched my channel, you've seen my rant going back even for 2 years ago. But they proved me wrong since week 1 after I came out with the recap video on week 1 saying that Dak being down was going to be their downfall, that they would be lucky if they even won a game. They have been undefeated since then, and their defense, as I said, week in and week out since week 1, has been their bread and butter. That is what's keeping them in these games. They are playing tremendous football offensively. Right off the bat in the Rams game, you get a turnover, fumble, recovery for a touchdown. I mean, what more can you ask for if you're the Cowboys? It's like everything's going right for them in different ways. Even with Cooper Rush, it's crazy. I'll give credit when credit's due, and I do it even when the Patriots, even as much as I dislike the Patriots, kudos to the Cowboys for being where they are, maintaining the status quo for the division, with the Eagles being at 5-0 and the Giants being at 4-1 and the Cowboys now at 4-1. And The Commanders aren't 1-4 or 1-4. 6 losses in that division, and 4 of them come from the Commanders, who are just abysmal of a team. But Cowboys really proving me wrong. On the flip side of that, on that game, the Rams, though, they fall to 2-3. Real big trouble for the Rams, in my opinion. Their O-line is not doing anything good for Matthew Stafford. And that's where, and even Sean McVay said it when you listen to him in the press conference. If you look on the field, anybody, it's not Matthew Stafford that's the problem. The O-line is not able to protect him, becoming too vulnerable, taking too many hits, sacks, they do not look like a defending Super Bowl team right now. But when teams win the Super Bowl, this is kind of what happens when the year after you win the Super Bowl, you lose players, you lose key players, and you struggle. So see if the Rams can get back on track moving forward. We're only 5 weeks into the season, still got a long way to go, but they need to get it right quick if they want to keep up. 49ers do look, with Jimmy G, they look pretty good coming off another win with Jimmy G. So see how that moves forward. That's something to keep an eye on. Cardinals. Listen, we took the Cardinals at +5.5. Won the pick there. That was I had a feeling that they were gonna keep the game tight. It didn't look tight at the very beginning of the game, but they settled in. The defense settled down. Offensive ran their plays. Kyle Murray was able to pass the ball tremendously against the Eagles, and they were picking them apart. That's what I mean when I said that his style of play, the Eagles were going to struggle with, and that proved to be. But Cardinals couldn't get the victory, missing some field goals and missing the game-tying field goal at the end of the game. So another loss for the Cardinals, but we cover the spread, so that's what matters. But I like to see what they're coming back, because don't forget, Hopkins will be returning soon. One more week of Hopkins on suspension, and he'll be back with the Cardinals. So that's why I say when the Rams need to get it right, they need to get it right soon, because when Hopkins comes back for the Cardinals, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them moving forward. As we all know, Matt Rule has finally been fired by the Panthers. That was something that we talked about in the pick show and in the recap last week. Tough way out for Matt Rule. A great offensive-minded coach, terrific in college. That was a given. Just could never get it going in the NFL, it seems. It really comes down to management and not really providing. Listen, the Panthers have a solid team, and they had high expectations, but your main focus is always the quarterback position. And when you don't have a solid quarterback like many of these other teams in the NFL do, a really good, solid starting quarterback that you are building your team around him. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are not teams to be centered around, given the fact that they did leave their previous teams for reasons that we've all seen and know of. So it's kind of hard, but I just think Matt Rule's style just did not fit in with the NFL. Baker Mayfield is going to be out for several weeks, so we'll see what happens with the Panthers, if there might be a spark or something. But I would expect Matt Rule to have a college job fairly soon. But getting paid $40 million for the exit, cha-ching. That's all I can say. Monday night game. Man, if you watched that, you watched a thriller. Chiefs just continue to be an unreal team, down 17-0 against the Raiders, and they just turned on the Jets. Cut it. It was 20-10 at halftime. In the second half, they just unloaded. Raiders could not stop the ball. They could not. This is what I mean. I say this about the Chiefs every single week. Tyreek Hill being away from the team makes the Chiefs better. There's more space open in the field. You're not worried about Hill being, burning you with two backs, covering him. You get a lot more one-on-ones. You get, a lot more differences over the middle. And Mahomes, I feel like Mahomes is like, I feel like he's even better. He's like growing even more. Like, where's his ceiling going forward with this wide receiving core that he's got, creating so much space in the open field? It's ridiculous to me, and he continues to amaze. But tough night for the Raiders. That would have been a huge victory. Listen, Raiders are the best 1-4 team in the NFL. They have a lot of close losses, but a loss is the loss, and you don't make the playoffs by losing. You make the playoffs by winning. But you got to feel for them in a way, because there is a lot of talent on that team, and they looked really good. That was probably one of their best games that they played all season last night, with Adams having a huge game, Carr making some phenomenal passes, Jacobs running it down the Chiefs' throat, and yet you still fail to win the game by 1 point. Poor decision on the 2-point conversion. You're trying to get greedy. I always say take the point, go for the tie, and see what happens. If you give it up, going down the field, so be it. It is what it is. But poor decision late in the game, and you kind of got to feel bad for him. Adams might be facing a suspension. If anybody had paid attention, that he did push a cameraman, I guess, after the game. I didn't know that until this morning, but looks like he could be facing maybe a suspension, maybe a fine, but we'll see what happens. But the Chiefs continue to amaze. Another victory, come from behind, and man, Kelsey, they just find different ways. I mean, what can you do? 4 touchdowns, only 25 yards passed, but 4 touchdowns. Beast in the red zone, and that's where it counts. So good for them. Fun to watch. So much fun to watch. All right. Time of the show we all been waiting for. Updated power rankings from last week and the top 3 teams on the rise. So right into it, power rankings. Eagles staying at number 1, 5-0, undefeated, still number 1 in my power rankings. Chiefs staying at number 2 as well in the power rankings, and the Bills staying at number 3 in the power rankings. So top 3 did not change. All big wins by the top 3 teams, especially the Bills, with a blowout victory against the Texans. Not much to say about it there. Cowboys moving up 1 spot to the 4th spot. They've moved up in the power rankings. Big win for them on the road against the Rams. So that brings them from 5 to 4 for me. And entering into the top 5 of power rankings this week, I have the Ravens sitting at number 5, just outside from teams like the Bucks and the 49ers. So Ravens moving into the 5th spot for me. I think it was a big Sunday night victory for me against especially against a team that really just started to find themselves over the last 2 weeks, in the Bengals going 2-2, 2 big victories in a row. So they were starting to pick it up, looking strong, and it was a tight game the whole game. It was a great divisional matchup. So kudos to the Ravens. Justin Tucker, he's just he's just unreal kicking footballs. But they enter into the top 5. Before I get to the top 3 in the rising, back to the Chiefs and Bills. Chiefs 2, Bills 3, as I said. Big matchup this week. Game of the week, in my opinion, on Sunday with these 2 teams. And big, very important, obviously, as every game is important, but this one's a huge game. Potential AFC Championship matchup, potential playoff matchup. We'll see what happens moving forward, but big one here. My game of the week. Sad that it's not. These are the kind of games you want to see on Sunday night or Monday night. But it's an afternoon game, but we get treated for an afternoon game, so that's good. I will definitely be looking closely into having a play in this game. More so, probably might be leaning on the over. So we'll see what happens later on in the week with any news that might come out or anything like that, with any injuries or anything like that. But love that game. It's going to be a phenomenal game. Top 3 teams on the rise. Yes, the Giants are on the rise. I have them on my radar, entering into at least my top 10 for power rankings. Surprising team just the other team that shares the stadium with the Giants, the Jets. Yes, the Jets are on the rise. Big victory against Miami. Listen, I know, Tua was out. Bridgewater, got hurt. Doesn't look like either of them are going to be playing this week. So Miami is in real trouble this week at the QB position. So they are falling fast in the power rankings. 2 losses in a row, and no sign of recovery soon. So, but the Jets with a huge blowout victory, and they have looked really good the last 2 weeks with Zach Wilson. So something to keep an eye on. Something to keep an eye on. I'm telling you, Patriot fans, you see in the bottom of the barrel this year. I don't know where the Patriots are going to end up, but even though they had a big blowout victory for themselves too against the Lions, shutout victory. But Jets are on the rise. They're in my top 15. And last but not least, the Chargers are also in my top 15. They had a big victory this weekend against the Browns as we took the over in that game, and which was a winner there. But they are winning. They're finding ways to win offensively. Defense is still struggling. Keenan Allen hopefully will be back soon, so that will be something to keep an eye on. Many of the other teams that I mentioned on the rise did fall this week with some losses. So with nothing more there, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, again, to follow on YouTube, Twitter, at The Real Ray Yergs. And don't forget to tune in on Saturday as Week 6. Yes, Week 6 already. Week 6 picks will be released on Saturday. Enjoy your night, guys.